Ladies and gentlemen, we are awaiting the arrival of our special speaker, maybe about 15 minutes, so please stand by. Ladies and gentlemen, if you could please take your seats, our program is about to resume. Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. Thank you.
All right, everyone. There are so many wonderful things I could say about our next guest. She's a daughter of a mayor, the sister of a mayor, a person who's still with our leadership, a partnership with this organization in good times and in very difficult times. She worked with us to pass and fund an energy block grant that made a significant difference in the fight against climate change. She helped to stop the worst recession in modern times from turning into a depression and helped lead our nation to a period of strong economic growth. She's always welcomed mayors into her office, regardless of political party, and has always taken time to be with us at our national meetings. In fact, she committed to being here at this winter meeting well before the congressional recess was canceled. She was going to fly back across the country just to be here with the U.S. Conference of Mayors. As we face continuing challenges and opportunities related to priorities such as the nation's infrastructure challenges and world climate crisis, we're so fortunate that our nation has, as a featured guest, our featured guest, leading the United States House of Representatives. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you, Mayor Benjamin, for your warm introduction, and thank you all for your warm welcome. And Mayor Benjamin, thank you for your great service to the City of Columbia and to the country. Let us all salute the strong leadership of the mayor, of all of the mayors. Congratulations to all of you for what you do. And I want to make my personal congratulations to Tom Cochran, who has been such a resource to this organization for so long. He was here when my brother was mayor a long time ago, and he's still here. Thank you, Tom Cochran. That's an applause line. I'll let you know. Again, it's a personal as well as official honor to bring greetings to America's mayors on behalf of the U.S. Congress. It's a joy to welcome my mayor, Mayor London Breed, to Washington. And again, as the daughter and the sister of a mayor, as Mayor Benjamin indicated, I had a front row seat to the extraordinary work that you do for our country and for our democracy, for our people. Cities are the engines of human innovation in our nation. Your success is the foundation of America's success. You come at a time when the government is shut down. Sadly, with this shutdown, the White House is not showing respect for the American people. The senseless and prolonged shutdown is inflicting chaos across the country, and certainly in Washington, D.C., on public safety, on civil aviation, on housing, on health and financial security, on every other dimension of families' lives. I know, as the daughter and sister of a mayor, that there is no buffer between a mayor and his or her constituents. You hear the stories, you know the pain, you feel it, you know that this shutdown must end, and it must end now. On day one, and since, the Democratic Congress has acted to end the chaos and restore certainty to people's lives. This afternoon, and that's why I'm running a few minutes late, the House is passing a package of bipartisan legislation agreed to by the House and Senate negotiators to reopen government. With strong border security initiatives. This will be our 10th vote. Do you want to? Let's hear it for border security. This will be our 10th vote to reopen government. Mind you, just remember this. In our earlier votes, and from the first day that we were sworn in on January 3rd, on that day, we sent the Senate legislation that they had already passed, 92 to 6, something like that. Some of it unanimously in committee. We said, take yes for an answer. We're sending you the Republican Senate agenda to the Republican Senate. And they said no. Today, we are sending them the same packages, except because some of our House members said, why should we vote? The Republicans in the House said, why should we vote with the Republicans in the Senate? But the Senate did. Why don't we do what we acted upon with them? So today, taking their suggestion, we are sending the House-Senate negotiated bipartisan, bicameral legislation for them to consider. We'll see how the Republicans in the House vote on their own suggestion. We'll see how the Republicans in the Senate vote on their own legislation. But it's really unfortunate that not only is the president holding the American people and America's workers hostage, he's holding the Republicans in the Congress of the United States hostage. Not all of them. Some of them understand what it means in the lives of the American people. We hope that more of them will. Congressional Democrats support smart, effective border security, but we do not support the president holding the health, safety, and paychecks of the American people hostage again to a campaign applause line. There is serious and justified concern that this president would shut down the government anytime he does not get his way legislatively. That is why we must hold the line on this shutdown in government. That is one of the reasons Democrats and Republicans, and I know this is a bipartisan group, beautifully so, and to the Republicans in the crowd, I say, take back your party, the grand old party. America needs a strong Republican Party, not a rubber stamp. Republicans alike, Democrats and Republicans alike must urge their senators to support the bipartisan legislation to reopen government that will be on the floor tomorrow. Tomorrow, we must reopen government now to respect our workers, to protect our borders, and to meet the needs of the American people. That is what is not, people have to understand there's a purpose to the governance of our, you know it better than anyone, the public role in meeting the needs of people. People's needs are not being met when these people are not being employed, working and getting paid for their work. The American people elected a House majority that would, that's an applause line. Not for everybody, maybe. That will deliver results for the people, opening up new opportunities and improving their lives. We have the opportunity, and therefore the responsibility, to get to work, redeeming the promise of the American dream for every family and advancing progress for every community. We must build our human infrastructure, invest in our physical infrastructure, and build our democracy. Today, too many hardworking families are asking, in this time of innovation and globalization, they're asking if they have a place in the economy of tomorrow. You hear that all the time. We all, mayors, members of Congress alike, must answer them and say, we will have an economy that works for you, for every person in our country. We must build an economy that gives all Americans the tools they need to succeed in the 21st century. Public education, workforce development, good-paying jobs, and secure pensions. Just as we must invest in human infrastructure for our nation, we must invest in our physical infrastructure. The House is committed to bold, transformative action to rebuild America with green, modern, and job-creating infrastructure from sea to shining sea. And may I acknowledge another California mayor, Mayor Garcetti, for his leadership in building the infrastructure in Los Angeles in a very major way. Investing in our crumbling roads, bridges, and transit systems, and modernizing our ports and airports, rebuilding our children's schools to provide safe, modern learning experiments. We say to kids, education is important. You must study. You must learn. And yet they get a different message. We send them to a school that is not up to par for them. Mayor Palmer and I, when Trenton a while back, were watching kids learn how to build green infrastructure in the schools there. So some of you have taken the lead in a very important way, and I've been here when you've received your awards for infrastructure. I've been here when you've received your awards for the arts. I'll get back to the arts in a moment. Bringing broadband internet to every corner of the country and fixing our broken water system so that every family has access to clean, safe drinking water. Some of our water systems are over 100 years old. They're made of brick and wood. Brick and wood. Building the sustainable, resilient infrastructure of the future in a way that protects clean air, clean water, creates good-paying jobs, and combats the climate crisis. We must embrace the 3 I's, your theme, building our infrastructure in a way that is innovative and inclusive. Congratulations on your leadership in all 3 regards. We know that you are ready to stop talking and start digging. We want to see dirt fly is what we want to see when we allocate these resources. And I'm optimistic because one subject that I have some common ground with the president on is the subject of infrastructure. Maybe 80% of the conversations I've had with him since his election have been about infrastructure. We have to find our common ground. We're ready, and hopefully he is too, so that we can get moving on that, to create good-paying jobs. We know how important it is. Improve the quality of life, promote commerce. It's so important. Clean air, clean water from all of those investments. We applaud America's mayors for stepping up to deliver quality infrastructure for your citizens. The House will do our part to support you, and we'll do so in a way that does not shift the burden onto your budgets. Last year, they had an infrastructure plan that went from 80% federal, 20% local, to 20% federal, 80% local. What? What? Are you kidding? Must have been. But that's we will not make. We want it to happen, and we don't want it to happen in a way that is not predictable, affordable, and again, with a return. When you're doing infrastructure, I talked to Jerry Brown about this morning. He was in my office about what happened in California with the tax initiative that was on the ballot. When people see what they get for any investment in infrastructure, they always support the infrastructure. The Congress, though, needs your leadership and partnership to deliver on many of our shared priorities to drive common progress for all. Together, we'll make America more safe by passing common sense legislation to end the epidemic of gun violence. We will make America more American by protecting dreamers and TPS recipients. And passing comprehensive immigration reform. We will make America more just by protecting people with pre-existing conditions, expanding access to health care, and lowering the price of prescription drugs, and defending Medicare and Medicaid. And we will strengthen our democracy by passing the Equality Act, that is an act to end discrimination against the LGBT community. And so we're very excited about that. And our first bill, H.R. 1, to clean up corruption in Washington, to bring dignity to government by lowering the impact of dark, secret, special interest money in the political scene and empowering people, removing obstacles to participation, and passing the Voting Rights Act. There are two challenges, well, actually three, that I want to just close with, and that is, here they are. One is the sinfulness, the immorality of the disparity of income in our country. It is so stunning and remarkable. Say 40 years ago or a little bit more, the disparity in income between and we've had this conversation before, but it just gets worse. The disparity in income between the CEO and the worker was about 40%. And when productivity increased, everyone's pay increased, the CEO and the worker. Now, it's about 350 to 400%, the CEO. Many CEOs really earned as much as their employees earned it in a year, in the first couple of weeks in January. Certainly by now. 40, 35, 350 to 400 times the CEO pay to the worker's pay. That just simply has to end. We do not begrudge anyone their success, their wealth, but we don't want to see an exploitation of the workforce in order to achieve that. So that is part of our For the People agenda, to reduce that disparity, and in doing so, to increase the purchasing power that our workers have. The middle class purchasing power is the most significant stimulus to the economy. Secondly, we have to talk about our planet. I was going to say the denial that some are in our planet, but let's be in a more positive vein. We know that the climate crisis is a crisis in many ways. First of all, it challenges the air our children breathe. It's a public health issue. Clean air, clean water, food safety. It's a public health issue. Air pollution. Pope called it air pollution. That drives it home for people who think of climate crisis as removed from their lives. Climate crisis, public health. Climate health crisis, our economic success to be number one globally in terms of green technologies. So it's an economic challenge. It's a national security challenge. Generals, admirals, et cetera, national security people come to us and tell us that this is a national security challenge in terms of conflicts that erupt because of limitation of assets, migrations that occur, droughts, weather conditions that challenge the communities that people live in and create unease, unrest, and our national security. And it's a moral issue. If you believe, as I do, that this planet is God's creation, I join with our evangelical community in doing so, that this is God's creation and we have a moral responsibility to be good stewards of it. Then we must be good stewards of it. And if you don't share that view, but you do agree that we owe it to future generations to pass on the planet in a responsible way, then again, it is a moral issue. So that is one of the challenges we face, and I'm pleased to announce that I have established a climate select committee on climate once again. We had one when I was speaker before, and we have it again now. So this is about creating good-paying green jobs, and ending some of the denial that is there. Secondly, I said disparity of income, the climate. Third, it is. This is something that I think hits home, no pun intended, with many of you, and that is the housing crisis, the homelessness issue that exists in our country. We have to think in a very drastic way about this. And I'll quote Dr. King. Dr. King said, "This is no time to engage in the luxury of cooling off or take the tranquilizing drug of gradualism." Tranquilizing gradualism. We cannot think incrementally. We have to think big. And Maxine Waters, who's the chair of the Financial Services Committee, thinks big in this way. We need to be working with you to hear your ideas about how we can address the housing crisis and how we can increase the stock, make it everything more affordable, and meet the challenge to conscience that homelessness is in our country, especially our veterans. Well, for everyone, for our families. I bring back to the veterans because the veterans are so hurt by the shutdown. Nearly a third of our workforce, federal workforce, are veterans. They come from the military, take off the uniform, but continue in service to our country in such an important way. And it's not, we do a disservice to them. We do not appreciate the work that they do. And one way to hurt them is to have their credit ratings be lessened because they do not have the paycheck in a timely fashion to pay their bills, their rent, their mortgage, their car payment, their credit card bill. And if you really want to hurt a veteran, you might have an impact on some of them from their security clearances. The security clearance is affected by your credit rating. So there's so many ways that this shutdown that I began my remarks with and now end with do a disservice to our country, and again, must end. Our journey will not be easy. To deliver on all the priorities for the people, we must embrace innovation, inclusion. We have to establish your model that you have put forth here today. We're coming back to it here. You know it. Infrastructure, innovation, inclusion. So guided by bold thinking and inspired by the priorities of those whom we are honored to serve, we can meet the challenges of our time. I talked this week, we mark the 90 years since the birth of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Imagine he was only 39 years old, barely old enough to be president himself, and yet he has a monument on the Mall. He has a day in his honor because of his values, and his leadership, and his courage. Decades since the March on Washington, his words still ring powerfully clear and true. And I'll repeat, this is no time to engage in the luxury of cooling off or to take the tranquilizing drug of gradualism. Now is the time to make real the promises of democracy. So I congratulate you. I know that some of you will be honored tomorrow for your work in the arts, and let me thank you for that. I do believe that one way that we can all come together in our country is through the arts. It is an area where we all, shall we say, put aside our differences. We laugh together, we cry together, we're inspired together. It gives children confidence that they can do other things if they can be creative. Poet Shelley once wrote, "The greatest force for moral good is imagination." So I'd add that I to your infrastructure, inclusion, and innovation, imagination. You are masters of it. You have to be every single day. So Again, I congratulate those who will be honored for their contribution to the arts. The mayors have been in the forefront of that for so long, recognizing how important it is to infrastructure, innovation, and inclusion. Together, let us move forward to make the promise of progress for every family in every community and city across the nation real. Thank you all for your leadership. Madam Mayor, Mr. Mayor, thank you all. Thank you.
We want to thank Speaker Pelosi for being here with us, for always supporting the U.S. Conference of Mayors. And this session is adjourned, guys. Let's get to our best practices workshops.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.